Being from the prairies, I jumped at the opportunity to leave my environment and travel to the Peace River Valley to make a film after having heard about some sort of storm that has been brewing there for the last 30 years, looming over the residents there. So upon our arrival, we drove through this breathtakingly beautiful valley, and just upstream of the town of Hudson's Hope, we pulled off to the side of the road to soak up the environment, where we stumbled across this deer trail that meandered through the bush. So we grabbed the camera in hopes of getting a nice shot. Well, the trail led across this stream that ran off the side of a cliff, and stepping to the edge revealed an absolutely awe-inspiring view of the canyon, which could have been the most beautiful place I'd ever seen, had it not been for the swath of trees cut through the forest across the river, making way for hydro transmission lines. Then, as I look upstream, it's further spoiled by the Peace Canyon Dam, which destroyed this moment back in 1980. So we head back to the van, continuing upstream to an even bigger obstruction, the W.A.C. Bennett Dam, erected in 1967, where 40 years later, trees are still falling into the reservoir as the banks of the valley continually erode. Turning around, disappointed at what has already been lost, driving back to the city of Fort St. John, we start to notice these signs that read, Flood Reserve Level, reminding us that there is now a third dam being proposed on the river that would destroy most of the remaining section of BC's Peace River Valley. The Site C Dam project, originally proposed back in 1980, would be located at the mouth of the Moberly River on the Peace, just outside the city of Fort St. John, and would back the river up all the way to the base of the Peace Canyon Dam, some 83 kilometers away. For the last 30 years, the local residents here have been searching for a voice to defend themselves from this dark cloud that seems just about to break.
It's all right with me, but my great-grandchildren, their great-grandchildren, that's where I'm talking about, not today. I'll be gone already. I'll be 6 foot under the ground.
My grandpa was discussing the Site C issue with BC Hydro in '77, and that's 30-some years ago. We're still sitting here talking about the same subject, so it's an ongoing...
He didn't discuss much, did he?
There wasn't much discussion. It was,
He
get off my land.
Oh yeah.
He ran him off with a shotgun.
In the mid-1970s, we learned of a proposed Site C dam that would flood this property. And after organizing the various landowners in the valley and informing ourselves, we spent several years trying to voice our opposition and stop the dam from being built. And BC Hydro came out with a buyback provision that if we sold to them, we could buy the land back if the dam were canceled. So many of us at that time decided that was the best option. So we sold the land that you see here to BC Hydro in 1977, and it has been leased back by various people since then.
Well, when Hydro was talking to the people in the valley about buying up land for the Site C, my grandpa just said that he wasn't selling, and he said, I'm not moving until the water's up to my knees, and basically, you know, ran them off with a shotgun. And so every time Hydro needed to speak to Grandpa, they would come up to Dad's and bring Dad down here so that they could talk with him, but he just wasn't budging, and so that's why we're still here. Is, you know, he never budged.
Yeah.
So I organized the landowners at that time. They elected me chairman, and we each put in $100. We had a budget of $1,200 to oppose the dam. And the way Hydro went about it was very insulting to us. It was not just the proposal itself, but the way they went about it. They landed helicopters on here with consultants without talking to us. We went to talk to them, they'd fly away. Then they misrepresented what they were really trying to do, where the flood level was. So I have a very poor relationship with BC Hydro.
in 1980, BC Hydro applied for Site C, and there was a hearing that took place mostly in Fort St. John, but partly in Vancouver, and so the question at that time, the main question was the need, whether there was demand for that amount of power. Well, the BC Utilities Commission actually was in its infancy when we had the first hearings, and there were some warts, but I think that the mandate was broad, and they were given instruction to look at what the implications of this dam were.
It was relatively informal as these things go. Today it's just, there's so many lawyers and so many people involved that the money is just crazy.
Basically, it was done with presenters or interveners. Some had lawyers that represented them. Others represented themselves, as my wife and I did. And we gave a presentation on agricultural capability, the types of crops that would grow, especially the market garden things, and also on agriculture.
I represented Don Peck Holdings, which is what it was called at the time. My clients had the water rights on the river, and they had the water rights for domestic and agricultural purposes. And that's the highest right you can have on the water. A water right is just, you get a license. It's a water license. You get a license to use the water for your specified purpose. We wanted to pump water out of the river to water the livestock and for irrigation purposes. And there is no provision in the law to take away a water license. So once again, the citizens get dumped on by a government who has, and it's really surprising. I don't understand what the benefit is to the government other than, I don't know, there seems to be this thing, and I hesitate to say it, but with men who want big, grandiose projects that they want to be involved with. What other purpose? If the money and the power is going to the states, what purpose is there for building the dam other than say, hey, I built this great big dam?
The hearing, I believe, took about 14 months, and during the time that was going on, when I started the hearings, there was sort of it was almost boom times, and then by the time the hearing was finished, the recession had set in.
So we had lots and lots of contractors around here who had lots of heavy equipment that were used to moving lots of dirt in the oil patch, building access roads and leases and so on, that all of a sudden didn't have any work. At the time, the first set of Site C hearings was underway, and they were dragging on and on and on. And a number of the local heavy equipment contractors got together and organized a public meeting at the same venue that the Site C hearings were at. And the theme of the venue was Stop the Hearings, Start the Dam. Well, that was largely because of their own economic circumstances. There kind of becomes an urban myth around the stories that the project was canceled because of overwhelming opposition. Well, all you have to do is to go in the records and the hearings from the BC Utilities Commission of the day and read their report. And the report says very clearly that they did not approve the project because there was no demonstrated need.
So at the end of the conclusion of the hearings was that the Site C should be indefinitely postponed until they had to, I think there were two conditions put on it. One was that BC Hydro had to prove the need for the electricity, and second thing was that they had to prove that Site C was the best alternative.